Hey, collective, happy Star Wars Day. May the 4th be with you. I just had myself a movie night tonight, just rewatched Revenge of the Sith, and in spirit of that, I wanted to do a reading for Star Wars Day. So I can only assume, based on the title, either you are curious as to what the dark side or the light side has for you, or I pissed you off with the title. So in Revenge of the Sith, uh, that line near the end there when Obi-Wan is like only a Sith deals in absolutes. That's an absolute. That's always gotten under my skin, ever since way back when those came out. Uh, so I'm going to start with a significator reading tonight, starting with the Two of Swords. So that is going to be the absolute, the thing that puts us in that deadlock of which path do I go down? Which path do I choose? Because the interesting thing about the fall of Anakin was that he had the potential to go to either the Jedi or the Sith, either way. Um, so, under the significator here, I'm shuffling for a card to see what that event is. It could be a memory, anything like that. Depends on what's going on in our lives. So we'll see what this absolute is. But yeah, at the end there, when he says, only a Sith deals in absolutes, and then that's an absolute, it gets into an interesting chain of events because Anakin was the chosen one to bring back balance to the Force. Now, my interpretation of that is that it doesn't necessarily mean he was meant for the path of the Jedi. I mean, as we saw things play out the way that they did, there was a lot leading up to that, and there was some sort of catalyst that was needed for the demilitarization of the Jedi, and Anakin provided this big bad evil that eventually someone came along and they had to stop pulling their punches. So we've got the devil. Oh, interesting. Hmm, that's very biblical. Just gonna cover that there. So the devil as the absolute. Interesting. So I think you can take that a couple different ways. As on the dark side, I think that's fairly obvious. The path that Anakin went down, Order 66, executing that, so on and so forth. But then there's also that end line, Obi-Wan. And he did make a choice because rather than going with his emotions, which would have been ruled by the dark side, he stuck to like the creed of the Jedi. But the resulting conflict resulted in Anakin getting mutilated and then giving the opportunity to Palpatine to tell him that in his anger he unalived Padme, which isn't what happened. And there was probably very little that could be done after executing Order 66, the thing with the younglings, uh, to pull him back from the dark side. But he wasn't completely off the cliff until Palpatine lied to him. So that's interesting. Let's see, I'm going to start shuffling for the dark side here. to see what could be that event like in our lives that could push us to either side of the absolute. Because I mean, if we take this out of the Star Wars universe into the real world, the devil energy could be anything that you're struggling to let go of, struggling to find flexibility in. uh Maybe there's some rigid thought patterns. And I mean, if you're struggling with anything, of course, trying to give up anything, there's always professional help out there for that. Always a big proponent of that. But when left to your own devices on decisions, uh, if it's not risen to the point of needing to seek professional help, you can get caught in that gridlock, in that two of swords of what the heck do I do? Because those emotions can really get the better of people, good and bad, positive, negative, healthy, unhealthy emotions. Well, I don't want to say that emotions are unhealthy, but our responses to them can be like things like addiction. But the devil can be temptation. It could be for power. Uh, it could be for justice, for not seeing beyond a rigid set of rules. Because the Jedi, they weren't perfect, they're flawed heroes. Ooh, Ace of Swords in reverse for the dark side. So, some mistruths. I think that definitely speaks for itself in terms of how Star Wars played out. uh, the, what was it? The story that Palpatine told Anakin, like in the Senate theater. Uh, I know it's not like Darth Pestilence, but it's Darth P something. But when he's talking about the being able to manipulate the, I'm going to mispronounce that, but having control over life and death. And I'm shuffling for the light side here. So what would push us over into the light? But a mistruth, that could definitely bring up feelings of betrayal, of anger, of resentment, and a situation where you may normally be able to hold your ethics, as it where you may be lied to by someone you once trusted. Like, what? I can't, I don't think Anakin ever found out that Palpatine was lying at the very end there, that he had unalived Padme in his anger. I kind of wonder, like, what would have happened? Uh, oh well, did I just completely forget about the uh other movies? I guess so. Don't mind me. I haven't seen the original trilogy in a while because obviously he does discover Luke. So, yeah, maybe that's cleared up a little bit better in the novelizations. but that I guess is more of an implication, unless I'm completely off base. Anyway, but over on the light side, like there was that redemption at the end there. Like it was a bit late for Vader to turn back to the Jedi, but had he discovered it earlier, could he have gone back to the light side? I don't know. Or had the damage been done? Like, was he already way past like the Rubicon? So this could be something in your past too. You might be reflecting on that. Did I react the right way? Was I too hasty? Was I too in my feels about being misled, being lied to, being betrayed? I guess it just depends on the situation and the consequences of like being misled or lied to, like what those were. I imagine they weren't starting an intergalactic empire, but I mean, to each their own, you know. And the light side is a little bit quieter than the dark side. Maybe the dark side is louder. See, all I gotta do is say something. Hanged Man in reverse. So a perspective change that's blocked keeps you in the light. So not finding something out, it's almost like what kept him on the dark side. Like it's not an exact one to one, but hmm, I'm trying to think back to Obi-Wan and maybe what would have caused his, lack of cognitive flexibility in that moment. Probably a pretty shocking scene to walk up on with, Padme on the ground and pretty angry, given that she was with children. I'm trying to now make the parallel though to IRL, to the real world. So, oh, okay. So over here on the dark side, someone's mistruth brought you to your anger with them. Like, let the hate flow through you, right? And some sort of misdirection or obstruction of seeing the truth, it kept you in the light. Hmm. Did they, because I'm thinking of these as external influences because these are things that are influencing our internal direction. Or did they not allow you to see them for the devil they are? Or what's that phrase? Uh, the devil you know is better than the one you don't know. Something kind of like that. I don't feel like I'm hitting the nail quite on the head though. But then it's almost like the path to the dark side was inevitable, an illusion of free will. I was just thinking about this the other day that, like, before I decided on my current career path, I had been looking at a different degree program, uh, and I had my reasons for choosing the one I ultimately moved forward with, but it was an illusion of choice. The other path wasn't viable, even though, like, I had the intelligence for it. The logistics were the obstacle. And so I only had, truly only had the one path. So maybe Anakin always was meant ultimately for the dark side. I mean, that's of course the way it played out. But in terms of like fate or destiny, it's an illusion of choice. And that maybe that's the devil energy here, is that the temptation is free will, is believing that you have that. Ooh, this is getting a little meta. Interesting. And so I want to look at fatal flaws on either end. Look at the fatal flaw in the dark side. That's rough, though, being in a situation where you really only have one viable path. And there's so many like rationalizations that you likely go through in convincing yourself that you did in fact have a choice when you really didn't. Hmm. Or it could be that someone is trying to convince you of that, of a lack of choice when you really do have a choice. Is really in either situation, you're blindfolded. Like the path is not clear. You have to go with your intuition because you're not being given the truth. You are maybe being given or have, for whatever reason, a distorted perspective on things. And there's a devil here in the middle, your own personal Palpatine, trying to influence which way that pendulum is going to swing. Interesting. So the fatal flaw in the dark side. This might be, I don't know, the trigger for what pushes you completely over that edge, or the thing that makes you susceptible to being pushed over the edge. The Knight of Pentacles in reverse. Okay, so this, the way I'm reading this is it does kind of go back to that example I just gave about my degree paths that I chose. One of the main reasons that I chose the one, chose, quote unquote, uh, that I did was because I could make money day one graduation. It wouldn't require additional work past that, like in terms of internships, things like that. I was ready to go. I could hit the ground running, get hired, whatnot, which is what happened, thankfully. Uh, is be renting, and it is not cheap. And the Knight of Pentacles is the slowest knight in the deck. So that push to the dark side might be financially driven. And now I'm not saying that you're doing things, unethically in terms of finances. It's more, how many times have you had to do things, work jobs maybe that made you unhappy, or, cut corners, cut out things that were really important to you in the interest of absolute necessity. It's more that the survival is winning over thriving. And since we've got the devil here as the absolute, I'm almost inclined to think that you're in a better position than this devil is leading you to believe. Like, if you look at the type of questions that Palpatine was asking Anakin in that Senate theater when he was talking about the Sith Lord fairy tale that he was telling him, he was asking close-ended questions. Like, they sounded open-ended, but there was a closure at the end. Like, didn't he? Like, he asked you to spy on me, didn't he? Like, there's implications there. It's not just a wide open possibility that anything could have happened. He's fishing for specific information. And so maybe you've got someone like that where they're using really veiled communication, really veiled language to skew your perspective, to keep you in this like unquestioning, loyal to the end, loyal to the creed state. Because maybe they believe that you're relying on exclusively your eyes that are blindfolded there in the Two of Swords. I'll get a card for the Fatal Flaw on the light side. Interesting. So what might be going on here in the light that keeps us stuck? Maybe there's some sort of pressure, some time related pressure being put on you that potentially is false. And maybe you're doing that to yourself. Some sort of self imposed deadline. I'm going to take that as a confirmation siren that you feel like you're running out of time when you really aren't. And maybe someone has picked up on that and they're like whispering in your ear. Hmm. Oh, that almost flipped. Because with Anakin and Padme's situation, there was a timeline. She was having a baby. She was having a couple of babies. Uh, if there is some sort of hard deadline like that, oh, nope, that's staying reversed. Another knight. Interesting. Hmm. Yeah, Knight of Wands. So a knight in reverse on either side for the fatal flaw. And the Knight of Wands, that's the uh, Knight of Ideas, the Knight of Will. Let's see what the book says for this knight. And this is the Murder of Crows Tarot. I don't think I mentioned that. A wild soul called to the frontiers, they boldly push beyond the edges of the map. Their joy is in discovery and their desire is for experience, even though, or even those that bring tears and terror. Each new thing they behold compels them further on their quest. The cold moon rises in the east, casting shadows throughout the land, and a mist creeps onto the path like a predator seeking to overwhelm its prey. These horrors embolden this young spirit to screw up their courage and conquer the unknown horizon. Keywords: the knight errant, romantic conquest, exuberant lover, throwing caution to the winds. And it's in reverse. So someone more composed. Oh, okay. So I'm going to go back to the financial example of, let's say you want to abandon the office job, abandon the 9 to 5, go your own way, right? Fleetwood Mac it. And this devil is whispering in your ear that this is not the way, that it's not going to work, that you are going to end up without your pentacles at all. And so rather than taking the adventurous route, you take the path more followed. And that maybe it leads you down the the path of the Jedi of they were almost completely eliminated. Pressed back into the shadows nearly completely. I mean, they were. And I really need to rewatch the original trilogy. It's been a while. Uh, but they were pushed back into the shadows by the Empire. And is that what someone is trying to do to you? Are they trying to get you to stick to some outdated limiting belief, like hold on to that like cognitive inflexibility, and it puts you in a position where you're pushed back? The temptation here might be to play it safe. Hmm. Because this devil here, as the absolute, Like we talked briefly about addictions and things like that, but this could be finances and just the hold that finances have over you. Like my example of education, finance based. Um, Various jobs that I've had to work past the point of being unhappy, finance based. Like it's the almighty dollar for a reason. And I want to grab an oracle card here for it's gonna say an X factor, which is still the case. I just don't know how that fits here. Offerings. Huh. So this I'm gonna take this as getting in touch with your intuition, whether that is connecting with spirit guides, praying, meditation, things like that. But connecting with the other side, basically, the other world. And you don't do that with your eyes necessarily. I mean, there's, of course, tarot cards and whatnot that help the process along, but that seed starts from within. That light, it's the light from within. And maybe that's where things go wrong in being misled, is that you've got somebody in your ear, again, your own personal Palpatine, saying that power is found without, when really it's found within. Changing your perspective around and looking at how much power you really do have. Because if someone is in your ear trying to convince you of something, how does it serve them? People only do what serves them. So figuring out what, not even what their motivation is, just how does that action serve them? Because it could be they want to maintain some sort of image. They simply don't want to do the difficult thing and put in effort and actually put in work. Maybe they just want to, talk their way out of things. If you're being lied to and misled, I don't think that's good enough. I think you're going to need to show some real change. It's just my personal opinion. Monster betraying the martyrs. That's interesting. The lyrics to that song uh are very like, this is who I've always been. Don't ever try and get me to change. And betraying the martyrs, betraying the Jedi. Anakin was the chosen one, right? So something in the lyrics there. But overall, I hope this helps. I hope this resonates. And if it doesn't, I hope the next one does. Thank you so much.